Yes, sir. Very briefly.
First of all, I'd like to say it's quite obvious that the ANC is fighting a different battle. And they are wounded, we know that. However, we have to somehow trust that whatever decisions that they are taking are somehow, calculated. Because the fight is quite interesting right now. You cannot just drop a president, because already you know that the ANC, by dropping a president, you have given victory to the DA and the EFF. So right now, as I understand, people are a bit, confused. There's that level of fear of not knowing what the next step might be. But somehow we have to therefore give them the role and let them play. If they decide to go against, the voters will show. Then, just finally, the media has to play a balanced role right now. I was born in 1984. I know Mandela, I know Thabo Mbeki, I know Mkante, I know Zulu. I don't know the Rupets, I don't know the Buddhas, I don't know the guys that left us in this mess. Because one thing I know is that we adopted a bill, Skolon.
Exactly.
You understand? We adopted debts that we now have to pay through taxes, through all of these things, through e-tolls, all of these things. And now the media has to now start to say, guys, you have all those letters from way back. What are you doing for us now? You understand? So that's me, Takomoto being.
I just want to find out, does the media engage with the people in what they write, or they basically deliver based on the perception? And also, I just want to find out, since we the voters and we have a voice, are we exercising our voice or we not? And then if we have power, have we given away that power, or are we actually exercising it? And everybody in this room, I hear that we're blaming the government, we're blaming everybody, and we're pointing fingers. What would you do to actually better the South Africa that we all hope for? What would you do? Everybody in this room, what would you do? I hear gunshots and Zuma, there's the Guptas, there's DA, there's all that. What would you do? Here, everybody in this room.
I think we should have started there because of time. I can't go down. Almost impossible for me to go through. Look,
It's annoying.
Well, I'm not sure if it's annoying to extract accountability. Because it's the contract. But it's the contract that voters have with their government. So at a certain point, you have to say, this is what I voted you for. And then change me, right? Get another one.
So where is the fault?
The fault is
the power.
You are supposed to extract accountability. You know, it's a democracy. And in democracy, you choose to be the president of the country. And therefore, at some point, you have to account to the people that chose you. So I don't think that there's anything wrong.
But somebody needs to teach us, though.
That's it.
And that's the
You are
role
correct.
the media needs to play.
Well, you know,
media is there to inform, educate the public.
Two things.
Meaning
you are right about the
need to
media,
say
but
to
also
the people-
Angelo is right about our education system. Because you can't then say, in the 3-hour show that I do, that I've got to educate, the education system must make you understand what democracy is. So you must blame at different levels. Yes, the media, you can blame the media, but also the education system should prepare you to understand what a constitutional democracy means.
So then what's the SABC canvassing for? More corporate advertising or more educational?
That's why we should have this discussion about the SABC. Say, wait, as a public broadcaster, what is your responsibility? You have commercial elements, you get advertising, the same way that 702 does, but what are the core responsibilities of a public broadcaster such as the SABC? And this is why you're hearing this discussion happening here. Perhaps the problem with this discussion is that it is not properly framed. In other words, to make you understand why it is important that we should have it. Sometimes you hear it out of context. You hear Hlaudo Motsoeneng, it's like, why do I care about Hlaudo Motsoeneng? It's not about Hlaudo Motsoeneng, it's about public broadcasting in South Africa and whether or not the mandate as stipulated in the Public Broadcasting Act is carried out by those who are running that corporation. So I think those are some of the issues. But I accept that some discussions happen out of context and therefore it becomes difficult for people to understand. Anyway, I'm not an analyst, these are analysts. Please wrap up.
They have
Angela,
the
I'll start with you.
Yes, I have only two things to say, really. One is the absolute essential, the role of critical literacy is absolutely essential if we are to maintain the democratic gains we have had in the 22 years since 1994, if we're to strengthen them. And that's not just the role of media organizations, but I take your point, because my concern is that often the professionals in the media are themselves not as critically literate about the state we live in. And so you will have entire talk shows, entire columns and papers full of errors about the relationships between votes and how they work, which echo, ironically, the misunderstandings in the public space. So critical literacy is really important, because also it's then incumbent upon citizens, particularly ones who have formal education, who have jobs, who have leisure time in the middle classes, to inform themselves about the state they live in. Because they have, like Susan says, an understanding that the ignorant masses out there are voting blindly for a party. When actually, when you talk to those people, they have very reasoned understandings of why they vote for that party. So if you have the time to sit here for 2 hours listening to people like me, when last did you read the Constitution? How do you understand local government's relationship to national government, to provincial government? Have you ever met your councillor? Have you written to this councillor? Have you asked this councillor why there are things in your space that this councillor should do that they haven't done? So that's the work of democracy. If I'm sitting in Amsterdam and I have to go to a gemeente meeting, which is the local block meeting, I meet the councillor and I can argue about why there is only one beer hall on my block, because that's what we argue about there. In South Africa, the person in my block that I have to argue against wants to put up fences, and I'm in the minority. I am that anarcho-syndicalist asshole who goes, I don't want fences at my mall, right? So there's that kind of stuff that you have to do. The second thing that I think we need to begin to think through very, very carefully is this idea that there is the media. We really, it's exhausting. Because what Radio 702 does, what the Mail and Guardian does, what Soweto TV does, these are very different things. These are very, very different things. They work with different kinds of resources, they have different audiences, they work with different media, they actually have very different kinds of outcomes. So we should not reduce this, because it's a trap. If we say the media in South Africa do the following things, my first question is, which media are you consuming? Where do you see these stories? And are they the same throughout? Because they're not. I've done content analyses of media. They do not tell the same story. They often tell conflicting stories. They tell different stories. The Citizen, the Mail and Guardian, the Sunday Independent, and the City Press are not the same paper.
True.
Yeah.
So we need to stop generalizing about the media. And then the last thing, just to close off, we have this idea that inside newsrooms there are conspiracies, that there are these evil Stefano De Mera types who tell every week in the soap opera, like KK in Mubangu, how this is going to roll. People have their own minds, there are deadlines. Pauline Gambi's story comes in, it has Paulie's particular view, it's very different from Tulas's view, it's very different from Karen's view. And if you go to the SABC, despite all of the crises that it's in, there are still moments of disagreement where the individual journalist comes through. So we also need to begin to realize as citizens that some of these journalists are not evil operatives of a CIA empire that has an apple in the middle of the room out of which rays go that convinces everybody this is how to behave. This is not Jonestown. Journalists, some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of them are good and hardworking, others are lazy. So to say the media to the following things to me is like saying politicians. Really, Aaron Motsoaledi is the same as Des van Rooyen? I don't think so. But you need to inform yourself. This is my thing. I don't think you can simply lay it as somebody else must bring me a spoon with all of the necessary medicine in it. We live in a country where there are documents. If the woman who needs to get a grant for her child has to do the work to figure out how she's going to do it, I'm sorry, I want to blame the middle classes who have more leisure, more access to resources to begin to figure out how to do this. Why has it taken until 2016 for the number of cases to get to court against the state? What has happened in the 8 years before that, when the state was doing some fairly dodgy things? And it took two parties on the periphery to pay attention. Now everybody in the middle class believes that one march is going to get rid of the president. Really understand the state you live in. This is really crucial.
Sure.
I think it is a very diverse picture. And I think we're talking here all the time about the different things the different media do and how they relate to different people. And I think it's such a wonderful, complex picture. I think South African citizens are really incredibly wise, and they have such diverse repertoires of actions of how to extract accountability. And that is where I really think this scorecard, other assessments in the media, across the media, that is all we're talking about, the different ones. Not one particular one, but we have to use the term the media at some stage, but we accept that they are so diverse and different. And they help people get accountability. It's one form of. Voting is another form of getting accountability. Sitting in a meeting like this is one other form of it. And talking about it, getting more certainty, more confidence in how what certain issues are and how they could be taken forward, how they could be framed. There's such a diverse set of accountabilities across South Africa. And I think it really takes shape. And it's a very interesting period we're entering. In a way, I don't know whether it's the second or the 20th transition we're going through since 1994, but it is an important next transition that is upon us. And it's very important, and I think citizens are doing that with the help of various types of media. And it's starting to imagine a post-Zuma, because Zuma, it's not, we are standing up and saying Zuma must go, etc. We're pointing out what Zuma has been doing to the country, to the ANC, to citizens. And the post-Zuma future is upon us. And I think it's a very wise citizenry that will be engaging with the next phase of democracy. But I think it is vibrant, and it's essential to keep the institutions to account.
Khadija?
Gosh, I think we've all spoken so much, but I just want to thank everybody for coming this evening. It's wonderful to connect with readers and also to be able to engage with you and to also listen to you. It's very, very important for us. Some of you may know I'm brand new here. I feel like I've been at the Mail and Guardian for just 2 minutes. It's been a little longer than that. But it is a very, very exciting space, the Mail and Guardian itself, but I think that there's no more exciting time to be a journalist in South Africa. There is such a wealth of stories out there. We are negotiating a particular moment in our political history as well, which has to excite you if you're at the Mail and Guardian. But beyond that, there's so many stories out there that need to be told. So I want to thank the readers, really, of the Mail and Guardian. Thank you, all of you, for coming out and supporting us, and for the continued support for the Mail and Guardian. Again, these are not easy times for anybody in the media. As much as it is a wonderful time to be a journalist, it doesn't always translate to, ease in terms of resources, etc. Our institutions are under severe pressure, commercial pressure, political pressure, and it is the support of people like you that keep us doing what we do. And you need to hold us accountable in the same way that we hold government accountable, and that's why these dialogues are so important to us. So I look forward to welcoming you again in January to another Critical Thinking Forum.
Thank you. Just to be clear, I do want to get home. I have children. Next time I'll give you an opportunity to do a vote of thanks. Are you covered? Okay. Listen, thank you everybody. Cheers.